The stock market, it's record highs. Your investments are making gains, and all's right with your financial world. So now it might seem like the perfect time to hold on to your stocks. But Jim Lineweaver says you might want to consider folding your hand. Jim's a certified financial planner with the Lineweaver Financial Group, and he's here with ideas on how to evaluate your investments. Thanks for joining us, Jim.
My pleasure.
So if our investments are doing so well, why would we ever want to get rid of those?
Well, what you have to do is you got to get the emotions out of individual investors. And what they always fail to remember is their fear and greed usually is the detriment of their portfolio over time. So when you really look at the history of the stock market and what's occurred in the last several years, and we actually have some graphics for your viewers, the problem is that we've had a great run up in the market, and you really got to take note of that. So what happened is just in the last year, the market's up considerably. In 2013, one of the best markets that we've had in a long time. If you go back to the crash of what happened back in 08 and 09, we're up probably over 20-some% off of the highs of 2007, and we're also up almost 200% from the lows. So don't get greedy. What ends up happening is your equity sectors that have done real well, you may want to take some of those profits off the table, or you can also move those to other sectors that might be the next darling, because they very seldom repeat themselves from one year to the next.
So tell us, what kind of questions should we be asking ourselves as we review our investments?
Well, what happens is you want to look at rebalancing, because your chances are if you had some equity exposure back in 08, 09, and you were prudent, maybe got some investments at that time in the equity exposure, they probably had a great run up. So you're probably taking on more risk than you really realize. So look at rebalancing your portfolio, take some of those gains off the table, don't be greedy. And then what you also want to do is just make sure you have good emergency funds set aside so that you don't dip into credit cards and other things along that nature.
So just so I understand what you said, so if we targeted, let's say, 50% of our investments in stock market, and our stocks have gone up, now we might find that we've got 60 or 70% of our investments in the market, which was not what we intended.
Right.
And that's why you're saying maybe rebalance, sell some of the...
Yeah, before you potentially lose that, if there is a market correction or the government doesn't get some of those debt issues correct, you want to maybe take some of that off the table.
What if we just feel comfortable with buy and hold?
You can, but the problem is you can really expose yourself to a lot of risk. And that, people have short-term memories, but if you remember back to the crash of 2002, what recently happened in 07 and 08, you really want to make sure that you're being prudent with your investments.
So you've said before, regularly reevaluate your portfolio. How regular is regularly? We're talking weekly, monthly, annually, decadely, what is
Well, somebody should be staying on top of it on a regular basis. That may be weekly or monthly, okay? But you want to make sure you're tracking, don't make immediate, changes based on just what happened in a given day. But you want to make sure on a 6-month, quarterly, annually basis that you're staying on track with your overall investments. And a good rule of thumb for investors is always 100 minus your age is all the amount of money that you'll want to have at risk. So just take 100, subtract your age, and if that amount of risk is out of line right now, then look at rebalancing to get it back in check.
And because all this is complicated but important, you have a program that people can get more information.
Yeah, we're not only going to talk about this, but strategies for investments in 2014. And what we're going to do is we're going to do this on Tuesday, January 21st at 6:30 at our Valley View office, and also Thursday, January 23rd at 1 p.m.
Great. Always good information. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Whether you decide to cash in some chips or play the hand that's been dealt to you, make your choice after seeing all the cards. Take time to reevaluate your portfolio. Rising stock values may have caused too much of your investments to be in stocks right now. If you need help or you want more information, give Jim a call. Go to one of the seminars. His number's up next.
For more information, call the Lineweaver Financial Group at 1-888-313-4009 or log on to www.lineweaver.net. Next, when a simple swallow brings searing pain.